Hello all and welcome to Planet Coaster 2. Yes, this is the brand new Planet Coaster game. And yeah, we're going to be doing quite a lot of things on this game. We're going to be bringing back some of the Planet Coaster stuff. So yeah, very much looking forward to that. And yeah, we're going to start off by building this coaster. This is going to be my first coaster in the game. Still trying to get used to the controls and the UI and a lot of the new things in the game. So this isn't going to be my most perfect build ever, but it's a nice starter build, and I was pretty pleased with the project as a whole. We're starting off with this really nice model to work with, of course. So this is a Vagoma Top Gun model. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's just the manufacturer and the model of the ride. But it's a really nice kind of model to work with. You can do some really cool inversions with it, and you can do some really nice elements. So I wanted to start this off as my first coaster, and you can already see some elements going in place. I mean, I've got a vertical lift on this coaster, and yeah, you can just see how quickly I'm getting the track built. In this game, like, it's just so easy to build coasters in this game now. Once you start kind of, you know, once you've put all your pieces in, it's so easy then to go ahead and smooth it. As you can see, it's so easy to smooth forwards and backwards now in this game. And I went for the smallest size track pieces that I could, which may be the way to go in this game. It might not be, I don't know, but the coaster worked out really smoothly. It was a really nice finish to the coaster. But yeah, I ended up having 4 inversions at the end, 4 airtime moments, and as I say, it has a vertical lift hill on it, which I was really happy with. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of going back through, watching the POV, seeing if there's any rough parts in any areas. Wasn't particularly happy with this area here, where the banking was a little bit too much, and this airtime hill was very, very aggressive, so I had to adjust them. This hill here, after this corkscrew, as you'll see when I go back to it, I changed about 2 or 3 times because I was not particularly happy with it, and you'll see the final result there at the end. But yeah, I ended up making a lot of adjustments to this area in terms of the banking and the layout anyway of what I wanted to go for. But yeah, I hope you all enjoy this kind of Planet Coaster 2 building, and you know, if you enjoy, let me know. But yeah, obviously the theme park season has come to an end. Diggerland at the moment is, you know, we're currently closed for the winter, and lots of winter stuff going on. So yeah, it's a lot of Planet Coaster 2 for the winter period. But yeah, I hope you all very much enjoy it. But as you can see, that I did end up going for a bit more of an outer banked airtime, because I thought the transition between the corkscrew and the airtime hill would work better with something a bit more outer banked. It adds another nice little bit of element in there as well. To this coaster, as you can see, I kind of did one of those what they call a Top Gun stall, I think, in this model, where it's like an Immelman, but it stalls out before it kind of twists out and flattens back out again. So that's quite a nice element. Had a nice 0G stall over the station, so there's a nice stall element where you're just hanging upside down over the station, which when we put the station building in later, it'll be a really nice element that you'll see. So here you can see at the moment I was kind of going, so I was thinking about what theme I wanted to go for this, and I ended up kind of going for a very sort of a mythology theme on this one, which is why I ended up deciding the name on this ride, which is Mythic, which I thought was a very nice name. But yeah, we kind of went for a mythology theme, and I thought, well, I've got to have some water in here somewhere, so I've done this really nice area here where you can see the coaster kind of goes between a lot of the rock work. It gets very close to the water line, does an airtime hill, dips down towards the water, around by the rocks, and then corkscrews out of it, which this area I personally was my favourite part of the ride, with all the rock work around, and I was really pleased with it in the end, the way it turned out. And I love the head chopper element with the rocks going over the top of the track there, as you can see. And I thought, you know what, I just need a bit of shrubbery around here. Let's enclose the area in a little bit. So I put a bit of shrubbery around that. That's not the last of the shrubbery and the rocks. We do come back and we end up putting loads more in. But But yeah, I ended up just kind of doing things every now and then, to be honest. I'd say I started on the rock work, and then I thought, well, let me kind of do a bit of the track colour now, just see how the track kind of blends in. I ended up going for blue and red at one point, which I was like, that's not very mythology, and it actually had Circuit Breaker, which is another Vekoma coaster, not a Top Gun though, it's a tilt coaster, but had very similar colour scheme to that. So I ended up kind of going for this sort of greeny, yellowy white colour, which I was particularly quite happy with in the end. The trains, you notice I went for a green and yellow colour, but I ended up changing that towards the end when I did some customizing on the trains. And well, the really cool thing about this game now is you can add scenery onto your trains, so you can do some really cool stuff with trains. And not only that, it's why you can do stuff with flat rides in this game now. You can attach scenery to flat rides as well, which is really, really good in this game. This game has a lot of potential, a lot of promise in this game. There's a few things I need to iron out, a lot of bugs. I mean, I suppose I could maybe leave that for another video, but I don't want to rant too much in this video about it. But a lot of the stuff I've encountered so far anyway, I don't know if it's particularly a console thing. I am playing on the Planet Coaster 2 PS5 version of the game, but a lot of things I've noticed seeing when I've been playing Sandbox, trying to build a Sandbox park, there's no guests riding any rides. Which seems to be an issue, and no guests riding any flumes as well. Obviously flumes and kind of pools and all that stuff is a very big part of this game, and none of the guests are going on anything, which I don't know if there's a particular solution, if anybody has a solution, but this seems to be, when I was looking on a lot of the bug reports, because Frontier has a very handy bug report page, a lot of people seem to be having the same issues as well, so yeah, hopefully they can get a lot of the fixes resolved. I know they are obviously bringing out a lot of features in the upcoming thing. They've just released an update coming out on the 3rd of December where they're going to add load and unload stations, which is going to be really cool. So yeah, you can do some really fun stuff with that with tracked rides and coasters. But yeah, so I mean, as you can see here at the moment, we're popping in some waterfalls. The waterfalls as well, really nice around this area. Was particularly very happy with the waterfalls, and I wanted to add some scenery in here as well. So I added a kind of this crashed boat over here, this crashed ship, and then added this sort of mythology kind of style building pillar on the top of the rock with Medusa, I want to say she's called, believe so. With her kind of in the middle there, wrapped around the sort of the pillar in the middle, which I thought was really good. So I kept on just adding more waterfalls, more rocks. This area is really particularly happy with. I was really big fan of this area around this section. And then yeah, we're just kind of seeing the coaster go through and watching it and seeing how things do. And then went over towards the station area to see what was going on over there. And yeah, I was going to start building on the station now. Oh no, we went back over here first to do some more stuff. I think at this point I was trying to add a bit more kind of broken building work around it and trying to get some pieces in there, and ended up adding a little bit more on there. And then finally went onto the station now. You know, the station, it was very tricky to do. I wasn't particularly best pleased with my station by the end of the build. Probably could have added a bit more detail in there. I realised at the end of my build as well, when I kind of started recording this, that I hadn't added an actual main entrance sign. So that's something else that I can do in my next project. But in my next project, I'm gonna maybe flesh out the queue line a bit more, theme the queue line up, and then really kind of properly put some detail in on the station as well. But yeah, as you can see, I kind of was going for these pillars, and then I realised, I went, well, I can't really put a pillar there because the coaster's in the way, so I kind of had to get a bit creative, and ended up luckily the game has some lovely broken pillar pieces, and some kind of broken rock work that I could do in the corner of that building. It was almost the coaster's crashed through it as it's going through. Because I wanted this building to look, I didn't want it to look particularly like sort of brand new in a way. and completely built up. I wanted to have it a bit more kind of broken pieces lying around, and to be a little bit more sort of on the derelict size. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, it kind of came out all right. Was particularly happy with kind of the pieces I was doing. The scaling tool was absolutely brilliant. I'm really big fan of the scaling tool in the game. I used that scaling tool a lot during this build with the rocks and with these kind of broken pillar pieces and such like that. And yeah, the scaling tool is really, really helpful for doing a lot of these kind of builds and such. So yeah, I was just kind of putting in the kind of finer details. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on Planet Coaster 2. If anybody's played it, if you've played the game, let me know what your thoughts are. Maybe you haven't gotten the game and you plan on getting the game. It's definitely worth it. Even in the kind of, as I say, the game does have, you know, issues to fix, and there are some bugs in the game, and you may have heard some negativity around the game anyway. But yeah, particularly, you know, it is becoming quite a good game at the moment. Very much enjoying it. I also noticed that the roof was kind of sloped in, but there wasn't really anything supporting it, so I put that pillar back in the middle as well. And here's where I had a right faff on with the new paraffin tool. The new paraffin tool is really nice. We're really enjoying the new paraffin tool, but it just takes a while to get used to. And I didn't particularly want to put stairs in. I wasn't a fan of putting the stairs in, so I thought, well, I want a ramp in instead. Just if you think about it in terms of realism, a ramp is a little bit more accessible. And as I'm trying to place the ramp in next to each other, the game was not having it. Wasn't letting me put a ramp next to a ramp. So I ended up building this massive long ramp, and then a kind of a queue around it, and that was pretty much my queue line. Because I didn't really want to do a massive queue, because the queue realistically wasn't going to be able to go into the coaster area anywhere. So it was only going to be a kind of a short queue out of the area. If I'd done a full scale mythology area, probably would have done a longer queue on there. But yeah, I think in the next park, and the next coaster, sorry, I'm going to try and do a bit more with the queue line and add a few more things in there as well. As you can see, I added these kind of cross beams in there, a few more broken pieces around the place. But yeah, I was particularly I was really happy with this coaster. The coaster layout itself and the general build of the coaster I was particularly very happy with. And the scenery was decent. I was fairly happy with it. I'm not particularly the best in terms of building buildings and putting scenery pieces down and such like that. But yeah, not as good as some of the other guys who play Planet Coaster anyway. But yeah, trying to do as best as I can anyway. But as you see, I'm kind of starting to add more details onto the build now. Added a little more rocks around the place. You'll notice every now and then I'll start kind of working on something, and then suddenly I'll go, well, I kind of want to do that, and then I'll move on to something different. So I ended up putting these flags in there, just add a bit more detail to the station area as well. Kind of a few more broken pillars and sort of, just adding all that kind of extra detail, because the detail goes far in this game. Detail really does, and it just, any little bits of detail really do shine. And I ended up starting to build this wall for this rampway, and realised how much of a faff on it was going to be. As you can see, I started doing it, and I was like, should I just put a big wall in there? And I was like, no. And I was like, do I put an archway in there? And I wasn't a big fan of the archway either. So I ended up just getting rid of it all. And I was like, can I rotate the triangular pieces? But they were wanting to snap to the grid. So I ended up finding this wall piece here, which doesn't snap to the grid, which I thought was particularly very useful. And it allowed me to just kind of build my own sloped wall into the ground like that, which ended up looking really nice. I was particularly quite proud of it. Yeah, the rock colour and the stone colour, was a little bit different to the main building, but I don't think it took too much away from the building anyway. I think it added a bit more depth to it and looked a little bit less sort of box shaped in a way, so I was quite happy with that. Just trying to find a piece to go underneath this pathway in the corner there. But yeah, the building's kind of coming together now. I did end up adding more things around the ride area as well. There was a couple kind of effects and stuff. There's a nice pre-launch effect which will be coming up later. Again, I was thinking about putting it in a building, but I didn't quite know exactly what I was wanting to go for. And again, this is only my first build. This is my first proper build in the game, so I was, just trying to find my bearings. And they've changed the whole ride sequencing menu as well. That's a lot bigger and a lot more complex now, so there's a lot of things to learn in the game. But yeah, I feel like it was, turned out pretty well, and put a kind of bit more scenery in the queue line. I was thinking about putting those fences in there, but I ended up just keeping the ones in there for now. I will say one of my particular grimes of this game at the moment is the fact that this model, you can only have 2 cars per train in this model, which to me is a bit strange, because there are Top Gun models out there that have 5 or 6 cars per train. And another thing is as well, in this model, and I've seen in a couple of other coasters as well, the rows, so the air gates for the rows of the train do not line up. So in this coaster, I don't know if you've seen it on kind of as we've been flicking through here, but the back row doesn't actually, the back car, doesn't line up. The air gates don't line up with it, which I think is a little silly. So Frontier, if you maybe are watching, which most likely aren't, but if you are, please sort that out in your unload and offload station update, please. Yeah, that'd be very useful. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm adding kind of some more effects around the ride. I kind of like this sort of charge and bull animatronic here, and I was going to put him on the corner, but then I thought, well, the coaster's kind of banking away from the corner, so I end up in the end moving it over here. So when you come round that corner, just before you go into that 0G stall, you get a nice effect come towards you as that bull charges towards you, which I was quite particularly happy with in the end. And yeah, I ended up just trying to get that perfectly timed. And then this is where I went back and changed the colour of the trains, because I was like, nope, I don't like that colour, so I changed it again. And I think again I changed it later to something else, because I wasn't again not happy with it. That's what you do. You end up kind of, when you're building stuff like this, you'll start building and then you'll realise, oh well, actually no, do I want to change that, or maybe that looks better there, or maybe that colour will look different, and you end up just going back to it really, and kind of redoing things and checking things over. And yeah, so I end up in the end sticking with that colour, but I think when I come back to edit the train, I will change the colour again. But as you can see here, I'm kind of doing this pre-launch section. There's a nice hold-in section at the bottom of this launch, so I've put some fire effects in there, and Medusa, she kind of does her animatronic thing and does some laughing just before you rise up into that vertical launch. So yeah, it was a nice kind of little added thing to go on there, and again, just trying to get the timings right on that and make sure they were okay, putting the pieces back wherever they needed to be. And then I ended up for ages not being able to find where the speakers were. I ended up having to just search them in the creator menu there, because the speakers weren't in the normal speaker spot, which I don't know again if that was a bug or not, or if they had been moved to some weird kind of category. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, but we managed to find it in the end, and the speakers were in there. And yeah, just kind of again just going back and fine-tuning this pre-launch section, making sure that's all okay. You'll see that in the POV at the end as well. It's just kind of having a look around the ride. But this was kind of just pulling up some final touches now, and I ended up doing a bit more rock work over in this kind of dip underneath the brake run here. Kind of ended up putting some more water features in here as well. As we start to come towards the end of this project, and as you can see, the colour of the train has changed again to a full white train now, nice white and gold colour, which I was really happy with. And this is where the scaling tool comes in. So I end up scaling that ram's head on the front down, and then I really wanted to, and I thought these look so nice, putting these clouds on the side of the train, and then this sort of this trident on the back, I thought looked really nice. And then I ended up testing the coaster outside of this, and the clouds on the back ended up glitching off of the train every time it went upside down or through a curve. So I ended up turning around and just, I was like, nope, I'm not happy with that. So I ended up editing it in the end. But yeah, that takes us to the end of this Planet Coaster build on Mythic. I hope you all enjoyed. And let me know if you want to see some more of these Planet Coaster builds in the future. But that'll be everything, and I will see you all later. Enjoy the POV of Mythic.